Whether you learned it in school or through a jaunty musical number on The Simpsons, the sad tale of William Henry Harrison is one of the more unique in American history. If you love uncovering the secrets of the past, make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating historical mysteries. Before being elected the 9th President of the United States in 1840, Harrison was known as a military hero who led his troops to victory against an attack from the Native American Confederacy in 1811, later known as the Battle of Tippecanoe. His heroics extended into the War of 1812, when he recovered Detroit from the British and won the Battle of Thames. Military notoriety has often given way to a road into politics, especially in the 19th century. Harrison was soon elected a senator for Ohio, and then eventually became president after beating incumbent President Martin Van Buren in 1840. At 67 years old, Harrison took office as the oldest president to ever be elected, a record that would stand until Ronald Reagan's election in 1980 at 69 years old, which has since been beat by both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Despite the cold, rainy weather in Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day, Harrison stood in front of the masses without his overcoat, hat, and gloves, and gave an 8,445-word speech that would last almost 2 hours. 3 weeks later, Harrison complained of fatigue and of a cold which later turned into what doctors said was pneumonia. On April 4, 1841, exactly 1 month after taking office, Harrison was dead. The historical narrative virtually wrote itself. Harrison, after being improperly dressed for the weather, got pneumonia and would go down as a cautionary tale, or a punchline, and was known now for having the shortest presidency on record. But was it really pneumonia that killed him? Harrison's own doctor, Thomas Miller, was skeptical. He wrote, "The disease was not viewed as a case of pure pneumonia, but as this was the most palpable affection, the term pneumonia afforded a succinct and intelligible answer to the innumerable questions as to the nature of the attack." While revisiting the case in 2014, writer Jane McHugh and Dr. Philip A. Makowiak of the University of Maryland School of Medicine came up with a new diagnosis after looking at the evidence through the lens of modern medicine enteric fever, also known as typhoid fever. They detailed their findings in the journal Clinical Infectious Diseases and for the New York Times. Before 1850, Washington, D.C.'s sewage was dumped into a marsh just 7 blocks upstream from the Executive Mansion's water supply. McHugh and Makowiak hypothesized that Harrison was exposed to bacteria, namely Salmonella typhi or S. paratyphi, which could cause enteric fever. Harrison also apparently had a history of severe indigestion, which could have made him more susceptible to such intestinal distress. While treating Harrison, Miller also administered opium and enemas, both of which would cause more harm than good to someone in Harrison's condition. Harrison was not the only person to be afflicted with a gastrointestinal illness while occupying the presidency in this time period. Both James K. Polk and Zachary Taylor, according to McHugh and Makowiak, suffered through severe gastroenteritis, and the duo theorizes it was the same enteric fever as Harrison's. Polk recovered, while Taylor died in office of his illness, less than 10 years after Harrison's death. Though Harrison's insistence on soldiering through his lengthy, bitterly cold inauguration, while dressed in his finest spring wear, wasn't a high point in presidential common sense, there's plenty of scientific evidence to suggest that it didn't contribute to the shortest presidency in American history.